Michael David Clark was born a poor black child in the mostly white town of Sutherland, Nebraska, following in the footsteps of his stunningly beautiful and absolutely amazing sister Heather. Mike had big shoes to fill as the first male child. While his dad Mark dreamed of him one day pitching in the majors, Mike decided it was much easier to just start drinking instead. Sure, he had other interests growing up, such as cooking, doing the laundry, and pretending he was an OBGYN. However, he also had a stubborn streak in him.
For the most part, Mike was your typical boy. He either had to try to break it or try to fix it. He was the snakes and snails and poppy dog tails. He tried to climb every tree that was in the neighborhood, kill every big bug or reptile that was around, and if he couldn't do it, he probably went and got his friend that will remain anonymous due to political aspirations to help him do so. He would push the envelope to the ultimate in every situation.
So I grew up with Mike. Our parents kind of knew each other beforehand, and Mike and I literally grew up together. So I'm Michael, he's Michael David, I'm David Michael, and so I always had this joke where when we were young, our parents just had to say David Michael, and we knew one of us was in trouble, we both come running. So family friend, known since I was born.
I grew up with Mike Clark. He lived down the street from me on 3rd Street. Grew up probably kindergarten to now, and still play boys together. Am I telling too much?
Mike and his extremely talented sister were inseparable for quite a bit of his life, unless Mike was sent to time out. Through the years, there were a couple of questions that would pop up. Firstly, would Mark Clark be able to grow respectable facial hair? Second, would they be better as a family of 5 instead of 4? That question was posed to Santa and would eventually be answered a few years down the road. As was the norm in Sutherland, Mike didn't like wearing shirts much.
Because in college, none of you guys wear shirts, ever.
That's gay.
Oh, you're asking us? This is real?
And he was always proud of his damn lawnmowers. When Mike was about 4 years old, he experienced the day that any boy would never forget. He found his penis intentionally for the first time. Evidently, Dave was there, and he wasn't too impressed. Mike would be happy for the rest of his life, and would always have a smile on his face. One day while camping, the answer to question number 2 of having a family of 5 was answered, when they discovered Sam. He was already 4 at the time, but their family was now complete. Their new family would spend many adventures outside camping with their grandparents, telling fish tales and making new best friends. Even in his adolescence, Mike showed many talents, from being able to pick the biggest pumpkin, to not telling his cousin Ryan that he looked like a nerd in those glasses, and from building an award-winning rocket ship, to acting like a pianist. As Mike got older, his interest started to change. And no, I don't mean into boys. He fell in love with fishing, playing baseball, and being a ladies' man. One thing his childhood did help teach Mike, though, was how to smile continuously, how to love his family, and how to exploit his sister. Ashley Ann Bergstrom was born neither poor nor black. In fact, her dad Mike liked to dress like the abominable snowman, and her sister Angela liked to give Ashley's food to her Cabbage Patch doll. Ashley's mom Janet was smitten about her from the get-go. From that point forward, Ashley knew that she had it made. Growing up, Ashley was a very laid-back child.
Stubborn.
In trouble a lot.
She likes to talk a lot. Always heard from her teachers, oh, she's such a nice girl, but boy, she likes to talk.
Ashley and her sister were very close, and posed for many awkward pictures together. But she always looked up to her. After all, Angela was the one that taught her to use the props in photos and how to be absolutely adorable. And that obviously carried over into her school photos. Angela also talked her into being an adorable clown. Ashley also loved to do art projects around the house.
I was probably 5 or 6, and so she would have been like 2 or 3. And we lived at this farmhouse south of Axtell, and she was like still wearing diapers, and she pooped all over the house, and I was the one who had to clean it up. She blamed it on me for some reason, that it was my fault that she rubbed it all over the house.
Ashley was in her first wedding at the age of 5, and from that point forward, she started planning for her own wedding. With the help of her sister, she started to plan the event and was in as many weddings as possible. Away from planning her wedding, her other love was sports, which would carry on through the rest of her life. When Ashley was 6, her parents decided to try one more time to have a boy. When they had Ryan, they decided to give up. However, their family was now complete. Like every young woman, she went through her awkward stages as well, but they were short-lived. She became a huge sports fan, started raising farm cats, and even won a tractor pull-off. She was always really athletic, and played everything from softball to volleyball to basketball.
Growing up, Ashley was on varsity at Axtell, and I was on JV in Minden. And Ashley was always a way better athlete, and I just remember, I remember that about her. But
other highlights in her young life was becoming homecoming queen, with a guy not nearly as cool as Mike Clark, realizing how beautiful her family truly was, and knowing Ryan before he grew out his hair, trying to be the third Bergstrom sister. Ashley was able to graduate from college with a degree to become a physical therapy assistant, which now allows her to talk to Mike for hours on end about medical stuff that no one else understands. From the moment they met, it was a match made in heaven.
Initially, I wasn't too impressed. He was a pretty big meathead, and all he really cared about was lifting weights, and that was about it. So I wasn't into lifting weights, so I just didn't give really much interest. But
Ashley and I met at this cozy little beach bar here in Lincoln. I was a bartender, she was a server, and I thought nothing of it. There's you know, a couple cute girls that worked there or whatever, but she seemed super cool and everything like that, but she had a boyfriend, so I was like, whatever, not too interested, you know.
Their first date, however, was stunning.
the very first time I realized I might want to be with him was when we went on one of our first dates, and he just was very genuine. I'm not going to say he did the whole fairy tale open your door and all that, but he just was really interested in what I had to say, and just seemed really into me.
She came over to my house for a Halloween party. She was a bumblebee. I was something else, and yeah, that was it. She stung me.
My favorite memory is I've just figured out that it's their first date, and they came back from a hockey game, and needless to say, they might have done a little necking in the bar area, so I'll leave it a little PG for that.
Soon they would be traveling all across the United States, together falling deeper and deeper in love.
Me and Alex and her took a trip to California, and just like the whole time, it was just like, not only was I with my girlfriend, it was with like my two best friends, and you know, that was huge to me. It's just the fact that, you know, it wasn't just, oh, I brought my girlfriend along for the trip. I brought another, you know, awesome person that added, you know, tons of laughs and great experiences to it.
I would say probably one of the best memories is going to Denver to the Mile High Music Festival with him and his two best friends and brother. We stopped in Sutherland, where he's from, and went bridge jumping and tanking with his parents, and then went to Denver and had 2 days experience at a concert. And it was just, not only did I get a bond with Mike, but his two best friends as well, and we just had so much fun, and it was a really great time.
Through the years, they made lots of friends, both independently and together.
I grew up with Ashley. She was in Exdale, I was in Kearney. She dated a friend of mine in high school, and that's how I met her. I know Mike because we had 2 rooms in our house for college that we wanted to rent out. And him and his friend came over one day after school, and they were talking to one of my roommates there. And I walk in, and I'm just like, who are these 2 people? Like, oh, this is Josh and this is Mike. I'm like, okay, well, who are they? And they turned out to be okay guys.
Me and Mike went to respiratory school together, and we sat by each other first day. And ever since then, been friends.
I know Mike through his sister, maybe, through Heather, from college. I think is like knew of him, and then when I started working at Spikes, that's how I really got to know him.
I used to go to CCD with her, and we used to play against each other in sports in high school.
Well, she lived with us. I knew her beforehand from partying multiple times with her, but mostly from her living together with me for a few years.
Eventually, they knew it was getting serious enough, where they had to meet the parents.
Well, I could tell she definitely thought Mike was the one for sure. Right? What you think?
I don't really remember the first meeting with Ashley, but I do remember over time, as Mike started talking about this one girl more and more and more, we kind of realized that maybe this was the one. And as soon as they moved in together, we figured that if they didn't kill each other, then we would probably be hearing wedding bells.
About the only thing I can remember, I guess, at the time was, wow, she's cute. And that's kind of what I remember at the time, the first time meeting, because it wasn't like, you know, we hadn't met other cute girls, and, you know, stuff like that. She was probably actually the first one he actually ever brought home.
With their parents' approval, it was time to make Ashley an innocent woman and ask for her hand in marriage.
How we got engaged was the most awkward situation I think I've ever been in. Nothing went as planned. Long story short, which it'll probably be a long story knowing me.
15 minutes later.
I had no idea how I was gonna take the ring with me because I didn't have pants that like I could just hide it, or you know, a suit jacket or whatever maybe. So I found like just like a little piece of paper, and I made a makeshift little envelope. I put it in my wallet.
We were in Chicago to see Justin Timberlake and Jay-Z the weekend we got engaged, and Mike had all these extravagant plans. And
the plan was to go to the Hancock building and go to the top of the floor and watch the sunset, and that's where I was gonna do it. So we wait 45 minutes, an hour, whatever, in line to get to the top of the building. We get to the top of the building and it's in the middle of a cloud. Next plan, fireworks at Navy Pier. Well, we had some time to kill at this point. So we went to a bar that was underground underneath a building.
Well, the Saturday we happened to be in Chicago, it downpoured. Poured and poured and poured. And we were at a bar in the basement. We came up to leave to go to Navy Pier and it was pouring.
So I'm like, no fireworks, duh. So we asked the door guy and he's like, well, as long as there's any bit of, you know, stop in the rain, they'll still do it. So I was like, well, I'll just keep my eye on the radar. So we hung out there. So we ended up kind of making a mad dash because it stopped raining for just a brief second. And we can hear the fireworks going off. And I'm like, dang it, we're gonna be late. We're gonna miss it all.
And the rain stopped, the fireworks went.
And in the meantime, we just kind of like found ourselves in the middle of these condo buildings, and they had this huge palatial garden and like waterfalls and fountains and all this stuff. And we were the only ones there, and you could still see the fireworks, and it was just perfect. It was like it was meant to be. So that's where I did it, and I mean, it worked out great. We were both super nervous. Well, I guess I was probably super nervous. She was emotional, but it worked out pretty well.
And that brings us all here together. Today, celebrating the marriage of this beautiful couple. They have hand-selected a few people to stand up with them, and Mike and Ashley would like you to get to know these individuals a bit better.
One of my favorite stories about Alex is the night that Alex and I almost burnt our house down. So we just went and walked around the neighborhood. It was the middle of winter. Walked around the neighborhood, tried to find a party, and we found one. Didn't know a single soul there, and we're in the basement of this place. And Alex comes over and nudges me and is like, "Hey, look at that blowtorch over there." Super excited about it. We get back to our place, and we really wanted to show our other roommate, Michael Kurtenbach, and he was upstairs in his room asleep. And so we go up and we're knocking on his door, and he's like saying, you know, "Go away, I'm sleeping, blah, blah, blah." He had to work the next day or something like that, I don't know. But anyways, so needless to say, Alex and I break down his door. Well, we had the butane torch, but we also had it lit. And so when we busted down his door, the butane torch like rolled across the ground.
My favorite memories, or some of my favorite memories with Angela, my sister and matron of honor. The first thing that came to my head was Beach Boys, dancing on the bed, jumping up and down, swinging our hair. The second one was, and I know my dad will like this, me really needed to go to the bathroom and Angela wouldn't let me in, and I ended up having an accident, number 2, all over the wall. And lucky me, I didn't get in trouble, but Angela had to clean it up.
One of my favorite memories about Gabe, I mean, I've got a ton. I've known Gabe all my life.
15 minutes later.
At Mile High Festival, Gabe, there was so many concerts going on. So we were going to one, and Gabe wanted to go to this other one. And he told me before he left, he said, "Hey, my phone's about to die. Text me when we want to meet up. Don't call me." Which doesn't make a whole lot of sense, ever. But anyway, so I texted him, no answer. So I just figured, well, I guess Gabe will just make it home on his own. We're at this huge festival and there's like 100,000 people there. He'll figure it out. So we go to leave the concert that night, and we're sitting in the car, and we're in a green Honda Pilot at the time, and we're getting ready to leave, and we're just sitting in line. And all of a sudden, the door swings open, and it's Gabe. And he goes, "Oh my God, thank God I found you guys. Do you know how many Honda Pilots there are in this parking lot?"
Story of Sydney, now Kobza. She and I went to CCD together since we were in kindergarten. Didn't really hang out a lot in high school, but became great friends in college. One of my fondest memories is her bachelorette party round 2, and being at Starlight Lounge. And for those of you that were there, all I have to say is 1, 2, 3.
Favorite memories is Sam, and this probably goes along with Tim as well. Today we were going through this huge cave tour, and it's like the deepest cave in North America, and all these crazy facts about it. And it was fun, but we were struggling through it. And I just remember Tim sitting down on the ground of the stairs, and we're like stopped behind him, and there's probably 50 people behind us, and Tim just says, "We make base camp here, try for the summit in the morning." And Sam and I just lost our minds. That and buying saris in Colorado.
Some of my fondest memories with Tiffany Arnold were our first time tanking together back in Sutherland, and first time bridge jumping and convincing Tiffany and Megan to jump off the bridge with me, which was amazing.
Steve's interviewing me right now, so this is gonna be funny, and I don't know if he's gonna laugh or not. I probably won't. But my favorite bar none story about Steve is golf tournament, like probably 3 years ago.
15 minutes later.
We're looking for a ball, and we're like kind of talking to the cart next to us. "Oh yeah, I think it might be over here." Well, in the meantime, Steve's driving, and I'm watching this go on the whole time. And Steve does not see in front of him a humongous tree, and he goes full speed into this tree, and the back end of the cart completely comes off the ground. Steve and his passenger completely thrown from the vehicle. The windshield flew off the cart, and I immediately thought, you know, oh my God, is somebody hurt? but they were both crying because they were laughing so hard. I've never heard Steve laugh so hard. I've never laughed so hard. Our friends have never seen anything like it, and it always comes up.
I feel like we're missing somebody. Are we missing someone? Heather Clark Molly. Some of my favorite are just going back to Sutherland and hanging out with her and her family, and she's really made me feel like part of the family since basically that Thanksgiving I went back and chopped wood with them. But I would say probably my favorite memories are the Ozarks and concocting snout juice with her and playing Yahtzee pants with her, and she just always has a good time, and whenever we're together we have a great time.
One of my favorite stories about Dave is...
This part has been edited out because of Dave's future political aspirations.
But anyways, so yeah, that's how we all got pregnant in that situation.
While marriage is bliss, it's not always easy. There are some in attendance that want to give the couple some advice tonight.
Keep each other happy.
I think they kind of have it. They're smart people. They know what they're doing. They've been dating for a long time. It's not like they don't know each other or need any advice from me.
Keep having fun. Enjoy it.
Don't get mad at him, Ashley. He's a man.
We do stupid things and enjoy them.
Don't change anything. Keep doing what you're doing. Treat each other well. You'll be fine.
Don't forget why you fell in love in the first place. I think that as your life becomes more complex, your relationship has the tendency to navigate that way, and it doesn't have to. I think you fell in love for a reason, and just remember that.
Just enjoy being married. Just enjoy it. Have fun.
Go find the toy, Uncle Mike.
I would say communicating with each other and being honest is really important. Because obviously men and women can't read each other's minds.
Don't sleep on an argument.
When it comes to the arguments, just say screw it, because it's not worth it. Just don't even think about the small things, just disregard it and go to the bedroom and everything's gonna be fine.
Stay in school and do not do drugs.
My advice is don't sweat the small stuff. What you may think is a big deal and you should fight about is totally not. Just let it go.
Advice-wise also, Ashley, let Mike drink, let him smoke cigars, let him dance freely, and let him tell stories. Because he's really good at all of those.
You gotta put up with the good and the bad, for sure, to make it last a long time.
Mike will probably have to put up with her telling him what to do all the time.
Yeah, Mike will have to be very patient. Well, if you ever go to bed mad, and if you get in an argument, the best thing to do is take all your clothes off. Because it's really hard to argue with a naked person.
In all seriousness, just be sure to think about the other person in whatever you do and understand that the things that you do have an effect on them, and that your life is going to be a lot more pleasant if you put them first.
We have all been blessed seeing these innocent co-workers fall in love and decide to make the trek forever together in life. While individually they have their flaws, together they are perfect. When the one whose hand you're holding is the one who holds your heart. When the one whose eyes you gaze into gives you hope and dreams their start. When the one you think of first and last is the one who holds you tight, and the things you plan together make the whole world seem just right. When the one whom you believe in puts their faith and trust in you, you've found the one and only love you'll share your whole life through. Congratulations and much love, Mr. and Mrs. Clark.